So we've talked about a few things on the Telegram group. I guess the next step is is Denkun, right? So I think Klein asked about progress on DevNets. Can someone summarize it real quick?
Yes, we discussed yesterday. We're gonna launch Gnosis Denkun DevNet together with Ethereum DevNet 9, just to make sure as much stuff is included as possible. Besides that, and in the meantime, we're gonna focus on exploring the Shutter. I'm gonna contact the Shutter guys on our further steps, and that's it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the past 30 seconds. Could you just quickly repeat?
I mean, besides the Denkun, in the meantime, we are focused on exploring Shutter, and I'm gonna contact with Shutter guys on our further steps.
Okay, but that's not related to the Denkun. Okay, we'll talk about this later. What's the date for DevNet 9 for Ethereum?
This probably perhaps next week or within 10 days. Maybe Martin or Marek have more information on that.
Yeah, I think it is next week. It would be good to wait a bit because there are still a bit of confusion about 4788 address, some kind of configuration things. If this clarifies, we can start DevNet for Gnosis, maybe even before, or maybe in same time or a few days later as Ethereum.
Okay. Thank you. Regarding Hive tests, do we have any news? I'm not sure if Marcus is here. I don't think so. Igor, do you have news regarding Hive tests?
No updates.
Okay.
So sorry about Hive tests. So when Marcus is here, I'd like to discuss upstreaming the changes that we make for Gnosis Chain to the Ethereum repo, because I think I would if there are nice changes that generalize Hive. Then we should work on upstreaming those. Maybe Somnat can help with that. I don't want to maintain a fork with massive differences between the upstream and no specific tests. I guess we could. Maybe they probably will reject no specific differences, but my hope is that they will not reject nice generalizations.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, but just wondering how we can deal with withdrawals for Ethereum, because for Gnosis and Ethereum, and that difference. And
sure. So there will be differences, and probably they will live on a fork, or we somehow introduce a new kind of, I don't know, flavor of tests, like specific to Gnosis Chain, that maybe I guess those like Gnosis Chain specific differences for withdrawals, they might still live on a fork, but I would rather minimize like the things that we can upstream. I would upstream.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, go ahead, Lukasz.
Andrew, do you have something particular in mind that you think we could upstream? Because I haven't taken a deep dive into those tests, how they are implemented, so I don't know. Maybe there's some obvious things that we could upstream, but I think a lot of details are not to be upstream.
No, I haven't taken a look, but my intuition is that potentially if there are probably changes regarding extending configuration to Gnosis Chain. And if those could be done in a nice way, like not a hacky way, then those could be probably upstreamed.
Right. I think there were some differences, for example, with the Genesis and how it was built for Gnosis. So maybe that would be interesting. But yeah, let's talk about this next week when Marcus joins.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's move on to the client updates then.
Sorry.
Right.
And about the Denkun, I think we need to discuss empty system address. Does anyone know whether system address is actually empty or on Gnosis Chain or not, or maybe on Shadow for that matter?
I think it's empty. I'm not 100% sure, but 90% sure.
I think it's empty on every Aura
Yes.
network. That's the Aura consensus rule.
Mm-hmm. So, because on the Denkun call on Monday, we discussed that for Ethereum going forward, there is this assumption that there are no more empty addresses after the merge, and they won't be included in the tests and so on. And my suggestion is that we make an irregular state transition for Gnosis Chain and Chiado. We, at the beginning of the first Denkun block, we simply remove the system address if it is empty. And then we'll be more in line with Ethereum.
I think generally it is reasonable, but from my side, it would be good if I will explore it a bit how I can add it to Nethermind and so on. So,
So the upside is that we will be more aligned. The downside is that we still need to support archive blocks. So it might make the rules even more complicated because now you will have no system address on main Ethereum and system address up to some point on Aura chains, let's say, or merge Aura chains, and non-system address in the post-merger chains, post-Denkun. And we also support other Aura chains, so we'll still have to support system address there. So it's like even more complicated to some extent than just leaving it.
Well, that is why I said I need to think about it, because it might be more complicated than we think. So let's explore the code.
Yeah, those things can be tricky. But kind of a couple of ideas is that we can make this change mandatory for all chains, or maybe for all Aura chains. That if we see
we cannot because some Aura chains still use parity, Open Ethereum.
That is still alive.
And what's more, we don't even have control on other Aura chains. We support only Gnosis and Energy Web, but we know about other.
We still want to be compatible with those chains. But still use
Open Ethereum dead? I thought it's long dead.
Well, the code works, right? It's just in the state where it was left.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, it will be nice move to somehow move Gnosis a step closer to Ethereum and rely on this system account abstraction. But let's explore it. What does it mean in the code? That is my question, because nowadays our system transactions are super complicated, and actually we are working on simplifying them. So just to not, increase complexity here. And
so while you might, not support it, but like I know at least few chains that are still leveraging Nethermind and Open Ethereum as to clients to.
But anyway, Łukasz, we have to
and
support
still there.
archive, so archive Gnosis, so we will not.
Yes, in archive Gnosis we still have to support it, so it's still a bit of complication here, right? That up to some point we have one rule and then we have another rule. So I'm not entirely sure it's worth it.
But how I see it is that the rule actually does not change. It stays the same, like the archive rule that you currently use for Gnosis Chain. It works, it keeps working post Denkun. It just because the system address the empty system address will be deleted, you only need to make sure that those like old archive rules don't create this empty system address de novo. But with it being deleted, you don't have this problem of touching or not touching an empty address. You just it won't be there.
Yeah, Marek said maybe we should just send Huawei to.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess.
Yes, I think it's funny, but
And all those rules will become irrelevant.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
everyone can do what they want.
oh, but maybe before we do that, maybe let's make a chat just to make sure that we don't break anything.
Okay, I'm not sure I got all of this, but I trust you guys. Don't screw the chains up. Is there anything else for Denkun? I'll take that as a no. So let's move on to client updates. Nethermind.
Wait, yeah, we should.
Sorry.
Can we agree on the networking part? So I'm not sure if you guys can look at it right now, but I just pushed a new commit into the PR. I added a new capability called Fast that it has only a single version and supports the get nodes data and nodes data messages. Is that what you guys were referring to?
I think the naming of capability we used just no data, and here it is fast. So this is the only change. And
okay, cool. Then yeah, please comment on the PR after the call.
Yeah, please review it and yeah, Łukasz.
So generally, this sub protocol is something that is first thing. It's specific for Nevermind right now because we don't generally need it on other networks, and it's also temporary because when we will finally move our state storage to different layout, which hopefully will be either this year or Q1 next year. We actually want to abandon this, and instead we want to use SnapSync because we'll have Snap Server at this point. So yeah, so that's the whole story about it. So it's actually kind of temporary because with Denkun we have to use new ETH versions. So I'm not sure how much effort we want to put into that. That it's specific to Nevermind and temporary.
But first of all, it's already done by marching. It only requires testing. That is the first point. And the second point, if we would wait for SnapSync, then we might.
No. I'm not saying SnapSync, but it's like a temporary spec, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like a temporary workaround that should be marked even in the spec that this is temporary for Nevermind thing, right? Whatever.
Okay.
And just drop
Okay,
it after from the spec.
If it's only Nethermind, do we even need to spec it at all?
I would say
really.
no, right?
Yeah, I would say you might want to skip it.
Depends. Probably not needed, but if other clients would like to join with SnapSync, then it matters. But we are
Geth already cannot sync from Gnosis.
Yeah,
It only has SnapSync
okay.
sync because that was problem with Guillaume cannot syncing from Nethermind. So yeah, it's like Nethermind only is temporary. So I would kind of not focus too much on that. It's something we need to do, and we already have. I reviewed it today, and it's really good. So we have it. It should work. I think there was some basic tests that were actually they're positive, but we need maybe a bit more testing. But it's temporary. So, for example, if because of something, then Kun will be delayed even more, then I'm pretty positive we will deliver a new layout first, and maybe this won't even go into production. But in order to not have this dependency and not have this potential delay, we have this as a temporary workaround.
Okay, sounds good.
And it's not like it's absolutely must-have for Denkun, because the most logic of not requesting, not sending block transactions as full, etc. This logic we have in different parts of code. But if 68 is optimization for this, and yes, Marek?
Yeah, but I think it will open those vectors if it won't be applied. Am I correct?
Yes, right now we don't have any throttling implemented even on mainnet, like on Ethereum, but it is in plans. And if we will drop using if68, then we will need to. I'm not sure if it will be possible then to avoid it, and for sure it will require adding a lot of not well-tested code. So probably just adding this satellite protocol now and dropping it in few months is just easier and more secure.
Yeah. No, we need to use this EDX68. The only actual reason we need this sub-protocol is because Geth really wanted to deprecate get node data in order to move to their path-based storage. So yeah, so that's why only it was, so we could actually have ETH protocol without deprecating get node data. So having ETH68 without ETH67, but it's also complicates the rules. So sub-protocol is easier, and it just does the same thing it did before, it just under the sub-protocol rather than main protocol. And again, it's very temporary, and let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. I guess Nethermind will get this done, and then I guess Line, we can close that pull request. Anything else for Nethermind?
Regarding Denkun or in general?
In general.
Well, not much. As I said on Shutter, I'm in contact with Shutter guys on our further steps. So yeah, in the meantime, we're waiting for Denkun. I'm working on it.
We have a release candidate, right? That's not yet full release, but should be full release soon. Marek, do you know when?
Next week, probably. Yeah,
Okay.
so new release, but still as a release candidate. And next week, probably full release. It will include, for example, this RPC fix that currently Gateway and Gnosis as well are using custom images. And what else? Maybe Carlos, do you want to add something about DevRels or Shadowfork? Just asking.
No, nothing to add there now.
Awesome, thank you. For Erigon, so Guillaume told me there was, I think Subnet had to dump the root node for Guillaume. I don't know if there's any update on that. And yeah, what are the news regardless of that?
With regards to this dumping thing, I'm on it. I'm syncing the mainnet at the moment. So I would have the data for the dump as well as any other supporting data. Also, I'll in general inspect the code parts for the execution of the blog mentioned by Guillaume, the blog before and after. So potentially we could also sort of match what we are doing inside Erigon with his implementation. So I'm hoping it would catch up by today. I actually started it yesterday, which was really out of sync. My own mainnet node. So by today it should catch up, and I think I'll be able to give him the data by tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, if not, we have nodes synced a bit everywhere, so we can share the data there, if that can be of use.
Sure. I would also like to run some debugging, so that's why I'm sort of syncing it on the local as well.
Yeah, sure, makes sense. All right. What about other news in general?
We are mostly finished with Dencon, still maybe some small things for DevNet 9, and Somnat has been working on improving our transaction tool for blob transactions. And I think that's a significant chunk of that work has been done, right?
Yes, that is mostly done. It should not matter all that much, except if somebody is trying to spam. But also, I think there are some new Hive tests regarding that, and I would have to check if we are passing those Hive tests from Ethereum.
Awesome. Thank you. Regarding Geth, Guillaume, you have any updates?
Yeah, I mean, basically what I told you, I'm working on first, Tanishq is going to generate traces from the execution of the reward contract so that we can compare the two traces and see if they match. So on my end, I'm actually trying to generate them, but for some reason that I'm trying to figure out, I cannot synchronize anymore. I don't know, it was working fine before last week, but now I get a lot of timeouts. So I'm checking if something went wrong. And otherwise, yes, also waiting for what Somnat just said. So like we have discussed a lot last week at Protocol Berg. We have all those avenues to explore. So we're just going to take them one by one, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this.
All right, sounds good. As usual, if you need anything, please tell us. All right. I don't think there's anyone from Gateway here. Okay. So regarding, I guess, research, which is used very broadly in this case. So there's this new EIP from Lion regarding the max churn limit, which we're talking about. And I mean, we've talked about this before, right? Because of the churn limit that is way too high on Gnosis Chain. Because basically you could get from 0 to 66% of the network in like 2.5 days, which is a bit ridiculous. And then this pull request, this EIP is great for us because then we don't need to coordinate with like all the consensus clients to implement something specifically for us. We just have to define this limit and I guess explain why we're choosing this. So this is being worked on, I guess, by Igor and Lion a bit. We're still doing this big block experiment. So we set up some like collection. Fetching all the data, getting the information we needed, and then you have a Jupyter notebook that is based on the Codex research team one to kind of figure things out for EIP 4844, and in general, actually the fast block times on Gnosis Chain in comparison to like how fast we can actually build and propagate them. Yeah, and then there was the system transaction differences, but I guess we talked about this before, right? I guess it was mostly the empty address. Yeah. So except for that, I guess that's it. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I had a quick question related to the discussion that happened before during the Nethermind update. If you are maintaining a Geth node, I know you also have a path-based database in the pipe. How is that going to be compatible? Like when you roll out Paprika, I assume Geth node will also not work. How are you going to handle this case on the Gnosis mainnet?
Then we will be able to enable Snapsync server, because the main point is that our state DB is not performant enough for snap serving. So
Okay, yeah.
it will open us enabling snap server for Gnosis. And just FYI, we have 2 streams, Paprika and path-based storage. So not sure which solution will be better.
Okay. Paprika is not the same thing. Okay, I didn't realize that. Cool. Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, if that's it, then thanks for joining, and see you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.